Hello Aqua friends, my name is Nicole and today I have a Halloween inspired tutorial for you. Starting off, I'm working wet on a piece of watercolor paper, and you're going to wet your paper really well. Now in hindsight, my colors would have been a lot darker first off if I would have worked wet on dry. So you have that option as well. And I'm picking some very nice bright yellows and oranges, just very fallish and Halloweenish. The Halloween part will come in with the darker colors and the silhouette that we do in the next steps. The colors that, some of the colors that I'm using are quinacridone and sienna, transparent pyrrole orange, and a yellow red gold by Daniel Smith is the really nice bright yellow color that I'm using. Some of the browns that I used were the burnt sienna, sepia, and transparent brown. So I kind of wanted a halo effect to really point the direction towards the middle of the painting where it's going to be lighter. So even though I don't have too much control with the plastic wrap, I do have control over where I'm putting the darker colors. So once you're satisfied and you have your painting covered, next comes the fun part, guys. That's why it's beginner friendly. We're just going to use some plastic wrap, and it produces this wonderful texture when we lay it on the paper. And when you put it down, kind of smoosh it around with your fingers to try to make even more lines. You'll kind of see the lines happening because it sticks to the wet paint. And now comes the patient part. So grab yourself a cup of coffee, come back later to peel it off. Now notice how light that is. And I decided, okay, this is not dark enough. It is not that sort of eerie, suspenseful background I was looking for. So I'm working wet on dry, and I'm using some very, very pigmented colors, and I did mix up my colors so that they're almost a creamy consistency, not much water, a lot more paint. And you can notice how much darker this is. So if I would have started off like this, I might not have needed to do 2 layers. So I'm getting all those bright yellows and oranges in there. It's looking a lot more Halloween. I'm loving it. Now, I did get recently Lunar Black by Daniel Smith. Right now I'm using sepia, and actually it's pretty dark already, but I did use a little bit of Lunar Black. I was told that it does granulate somewhat, and I thought, that's another neat texture, but I'm using it very sparingly. I tend not to like to use black in my paintings. It's just too dull for me. I'd rather use make your own blacker color. But the fact that it granulates kind of made me think that this would kind of go good with this painting. So yes, I have lots of color here, and it kind of looks like a hot mess. Kind of looks like, oh God, I think I'm destroying the effects that I'm trying to establish here, but we'll see. And everything changes with that plastic wrap. So I'm gonna put that down, and we are gonna wait again. I'm gonna smoosh it up, try to get as many lines and neat patterns as I can. And then you just have to walk away, folks. Walk away and let it dry. And I peeled it off, and I'm very happy with that. I could still see the texture a little bit. I'm gonna take a silhouette of a raven that I just put on some transfer paper here, and I'm kind of deciding where I want him to be. And I actually think right in the middle is kind of nice. So I'm gonna tape that there and use some carbon paper to get him on my painting. I don't want to freehand it and make a mess, and then it's hard to erase my lines once you have the watercolor down. So I chose to do it this way. So I'm going to take a peek, and it's extremely light. There's a little spot down towards the tail that I can't see. I'm going to press a little harder. Okay, so as far as what he's sitting on, it could be the top of a cement post, a cemetery. I just kind of want it to be a little mysterious, and it kind of fade into the darker bottom of the painting there. So for the silhouette, I am using some lunar black mixed with my sepia. And I'm also going to draw in some crazy jaggedy lines to portray some branches. And I'm holding it right at the top, as you can see, really high. This forces me to paint loose, and it works, you guys. If you do that, your branches are more realistic, if you will, because we're not choking up on the paintbrush and trying to do perfect lines, which ends up not looking as organic. So I like to do this because it helps me get more organic lines. Okay, and I just kind of like move, even bringing up your paintbrush and going back in and doing a few more lines. But it's starting to look more spooky, isn't it? With the addition of these crazy twisty branches. So this is kind of like portraying the mood for us, or setting the mood here. I think this would also be a really cool painting if we did it in a moonlight setting, using some bright purples, maybe for like a background of a moon, and then fading into darker and darker and darker purples, since that also is a fun Halloween color. So here's the pedestal I started, and notice I'm just still doing it really loosely, and I'm having that pedestal sort of fading into that background so it leaves it to one's imagination if he's sitting on top of some sort of statue or a stump. You get to decide. So the brush that I'm using for the foliage and the pedestal here was a calligraphy brush. Now I'm going to change to a number 6 series black velvet brush to do the raven. And I have more control to do the silhouette. I'm just following my lines basically, and it's like color by numbers. You're just gonna paint him in one solid color here. So that's why I said, you guys, this is super beginner friendly. Anybody can do this and get the same effect. The whole mood is set really by using that plastic wrap. It's such a fun watercolor technique. Let me know in the comments below if you guys have ever used plastic wrap. So I did decide I wanted a little bit of some fuzzy feathers sticking out. So I have here a script liner brush that I am going to draw in some feathers on the top and the bottom and just make him a little bit more scraggly. Trying to add to the spooky effects, guys. So recently I have been going through all of my artwork over the years, and I do have, I don't know how many videos on my YouTube channel, a couple hundred at least, I think. So imagine how many little paintings I have. So I decided to mat them and put them in these cute little bags, and I give them to my patients at work. I'm a registered nurse, and I pick the ones that are seasonal and the ones that are cute. The ones that don't work out go in the garbage, guys, I'll be honest. But I also brought a whole bunch to the gift shop at the hospital so that they can maybe try and sell them for a couple of bucks and raise money for the hospital I work at. So I hope you like this tutorial. Look at our final painting. He's so spooky and cute. And let me know if you're going to give this a try. Happy Halloween, guys, and I'll see you next time.